With President Trump beating up on Amazon, it's worth remembering that previous presidents, some of them at least, have bashed business as well. There's a pretty useful piece in the New York Times that put this in a little bit of historical context, some of which I'd forgotten. Barack Obama, for example, singled out Staples in criticizing the company for not providing adequate health care for its workers. And of course, he went after Wall Street banks on the issue of bonuses in the wake of the financial bailout. Bill Clinton, his administration, sued Microsoft and tried to break it up on antitrust grounds. Not exactly a friendly pro-business approach, at least to that company. Jack Kennedy, this very famous quote that became public, got locked in a battle with steel executives after a major price hike. And he said, my father always told me that businessmen were SOBs, except he spelled it out. And FDR famously went after the malefactors of great wealth. So when you think about that, there's obviously a tradition of, inevitable headbutting between what's best for certain segments of corporate America and what the presidents who happen to be in office at that time really want. But the Times puts a more questionable spin on it, negative spin, I guess I should say, by saying lately, Mr. Trump's anti-business rants have become particularly menacing and caused the stocks of some companies to plunge. Chief among them, Amazon, which lost about $60 billion in market value. I mean, even by Jeff Bezos' standards, that's a big chunk of change after the president's attacks. And the story reminded us also that both as a businessman and as president, he has gone after Verizon, Coca-Cola, Nordstrom, H&R Block, Sony, and of course, all the giant media companies as well. And he's expressed his opposition, even though his administration is reviewing it, to the proposed merger between Time Warner and AT&T. Time Warner, of course, one of the properties there is that it owns CNN. So, we haven't had in the modern era a president who not only had no political experience, but spent his life as a businessman. And this is how Donald Trump has always operated. He's been blustery, he's engaged in hardball negotiations, threats, lawsuits, threats of lawsuits in order to try to come out on top as a business guy. That made sense in the cutthroat real estate and development world that he lived in New York and that he grew up in. It's very different when you're president, and a few words from you can decimate a company's stock. Now, it'd be one thing if the president was proposing actual policies. He makes this argument, which many people dispute, and to some degree the facts dispute, that Amazon essentially has a sweetheart deal that is costing the Postal Service millions or many millions of dollars. If that's true, by the way, first of all, the Postal Service is run by a board of governors, most of whose members are appointed by the president. But second of all major shippers and other major, Walmart, which has a lot of stores, obviously, but is also a major online retailer, would benefit from the same shipping rates. I think what makes this different and why the president is getting so much press and not even getting that much support from some of his usual conservative cheerleaders is that the attack on Amazon seems so personal. Yes, he's concerned about the Postal Service. Yes, he is concerned about the continuing problems of brick and mortar stores. You look at some of these shopping centers closing down. Amazon's not the only culprit there, but it's a major factor. But really, this is about Jeff Bezos and his other company, the Washington Post. The president has acknowledged this. He says the Post covers him terribly. He's said that to me. He's said that to others. And I think because it is seen as a personal feud, that he doesn't like Bezos, that he's fed up with the Washington Post, although the Post editor said just the other day that Bezos has nothing to do with the Post news coverage. The president has conflated these two in his mind. That's why the fact that other presidents have gone after business matters a little less, because this seems so personal. And whatever the merits of Donald Trump's arguments against Amazon, I think that is undercut by the perception, at least, that it is a feud. By the way, postscript, Amazon has said nothing about this. Well, it must be great to be in charge of Amazon's corporate communications department. You get paid a lot of money and you don't have to do anything. It almost never responds to reporters. It's a very secretive company. I know they want this to die down, but you would think Amazon would at least defend itself by putting out some facts from its point of view against the president's attacks.